What's good? What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Urban Platform Speaks. Make sure to like and subscribe as you come in and check out the content. And with that being said, I want to speak on some recent comments that Gary Payton has made. Right, Gary Payton Gary Payton has basically just he came out on a podcast with what's the guy named Miles and Quentin, right? And they asked him about, did he say no to allowing the OKC Thunder organization and basketball team to retire his jersey? And he said yes, right? And so now he stated his reason for not allowing OKC to retire his jersey is that he basically said that he never played not one game in OKC. So he thought, in his opinion, that it would be very disrespectful of him, very disrespectful of the fans in Seattle, where he played his career at, not to, show them some respect, up there in Seattle when he was with the Supersonics, right? And so that's why he said he would not allow his jersey to be retired at OKC. Now, I'm not at first I was like, okay, cool. I think that's cool that that he respect the fans like that. And I do still feel that way, that he respect the Seattle fans like that. But I think there's a way for him to allow the Thunder to the Thunder to honor him and still, show appreciation to the Seattle Supersonic fans, because it's the same team. And what happened was the organization just moved from one city to another city, you know, but all the records um and everything, just, it's just like buying a new it's like if you buy a new house, you took all the furniture and everything with you. And so, I think it's to me, if they want to honor him, because Seattle don't have a basketball team anymore. They don't have like a you know that organization no more. So the Seattle wouldn't be able to honor him, because everything now is, they just called a different name. They're called the OKC Thunder, but it's really basically the same organization. And it's just like we had that issue here in Baltimore, like back in the '80s when the Baltimore Colts left when the Baltimore Colts left Baltimore and they went to Indianapolis. And so people here still wanted to, they wanted to celebrate the Colts and stuff like that, but the organization had left. All the records and stuff that people set, and all the wins and losses and stuff, they just transferred that over to Indianapolis. And so but you still was a Colt, even though the team has moved, and so Indianapolis Colts, they still could honor the guys who played in Baltimore, because they still was a part of that organization. And I don't think that fans, I don't think we looked at it as disrespect if somebody was honored, in Indianapolis. I mean, the team was gone. It is what it is, so if OKC wants to retire your number, um, or if now I'm not even gonna call them OKC, if the organization wants to retire your number because of what you did for the organization, then I think that you should allow it. Now, if he wants to show his appreciation for the fans of Seattle, then maybe he could find a way to honor them too. But I think, to turn down an honor like that, I just think it's a mistake. I think that he should allow, like if they want to honor him, he should allow OKC, the Thunder, to honor him, because Seattle is not in a position where as though they can honor him. They don't have a team. They don't have access to the record books or the and the stats and stuff like that, his accomplishments, because the whole organization just picked up out of Seattle and they moved. So he should be able to, accept that I accept that honor from OKC because it's the same organization, it's just under a different name. And so people sometimes they get caught up in, they dedicate themselves to a certain community or they dedicate themselves to a certain city when basically sometimes, the city or the community, they really don't, it ain't really to them. They really don't care. To them, I think sometimes individuals dedicate themselves so much to a city or so much to a community, and at the kind of at their it kind of more so hurts them. You hear about people like, repping this and repping that, and and dedicating yourself to this or dedicating yourself to that. I think he should allow this team, OKC, to honor him because I mean, when he was with Seattle, the Supersonics, I mean, Gary Payton and what's his name, Sean Kemp, man, had some good years up there in Seattle. With that organization, they had some good years. And I'm pretty sure that anybody else that's affiliated with that organization, man, if the team wanted to honor them, whether it's a coach or somebody like upper management, I bet you they will allow this team to honor them because they recognize and realize that it's one organization. They just moved from one location to another location. And that's what I hope that somebody talks to Gary Payton and let Gary Payton know that it's all right, it's cool, it's not disrespectful to the Seattle Supersonics fans if you allow the OK. And see, I think what he's confusing like the two different fan bases, right? Okay, it's that's different because the OKC fans were not up in Seattle, right? So, but you can honor the fans from Seattle. It's not even about the fan base in Seattle, like you said, because you never played, they never experienced watching you play because y'all team was in Seattle. But they got he could find a way where as though he can honor those fans and still accept the honor that OKC, or that the Thunder wanna place on him. Just honor him by retiring his number. That's pretty big when somebody wants to they want to retire your number. I know a lot of players, they don't really feel like some of the teams, like when they retire or once they leave, they don't feel like teams appreciate them enough. So now you have a situation where a guy is the team and the organization wants to give him the flowers, and he's saying no because of the fan base. And I know it's probably confusing. Maybe like, wait a minute. Yeah, if they had came along, just imagine if they said, well, we're going to retire Sean Kemp number. And Sean Kemp, they would have had a big ceremony for Sean Kemp and all this other stuff, gave him a plaque and all this. He probably would feel left out. If they had went to Sean Kemp first and gave Sean Kemp, honor Sean Kemp, he would have felt left out. So sometimes, it's hard to please people because it's hard to read people. You never know how people, are going to react. You think that you are doing something good, something positive for them, and yeah, I mean, and then they come and say something like this, what Gary Payton said. And I think that OKC, right, their team now is successful. Um, they got a really good team, a young team, and they might have some good years. Yeah, well, they do have some good years in front of them with this young Shea Gilgris Alexander and the big tall dude. What's his name? Chet Holmgren. They got some good years ahead of them. So that's going to be something too. Gary Payton is a part of that tradition. Even though, like I said, even though they were in another city, they were called something else, but he's a part of that, and so every time, Shea gets an assist, he's competing against Gary Payton's old records, Gary Payton's old stats. So he's chasing Gary Payton. So Gary Payton gotta allow, Gary Payton has to allow this team to honor him so he can be a part of that rich tradition, that they have. Other than that, that's just like you don't have no home no more. Like where, that's just like if your whole family moved, and you still want to, you still want to go back and honor that same neighborhood when your family, everybody has moved. Why are you still back over there? It to me, it just don't make no sense. People can commend him for his loyalty to Seattle. That's cool. Like I said, just find another way to honor the fans of Seattle. Let them know you appreciate them. But man, accept your flowers. You earned them. And so that's my take on it. With that being said, make sure to like and subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave a comment, and we will check you all out in the next episode. Peace.